Call this meeting of the Town of Clayton Board of Adjustment to order. First item, I think we have all members present except Mr. Satterfield. Is that correct? All right. Item number 2, any adjustments to the agenda? Staff? No. Thank you. Item 3, approval of the minutes of the August 18th, 2021 meeting. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Christie, I noted one, nothing disrespectful to Mr. Perricone, but the second paragraph from the end or the bottom there refers to him as board chair, Perricone. Probably board member.
I would never think of.
I really hated to bring that.
There's one more. On page 4 of the minutes, the last paragraph about 8 lines down, towards the end, it says findings of, it's supposed to be fact. It says face.
Okay. Okay. Any other comments or corrections? Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the August 18th. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as corrected.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
We have a motion by Board Member Casey. Have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sims. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving down to our item 4, public hearings, 4A, 2021-104, variance Riverwood Ranch Phase 1A-1B and 2A-2D, steep slope variance, And I will turn it over to staff.
All right. Thank you, Chair. The applicant has requested that any discussion or action on this item and that the public hearing be deferred from tonight to the November meeting, which would be November 17th at 6 p.m. So the board does need to take specific action on that and pass a motion to make that deferral with the meeting date and time in that deferral. But I also do want to note that there are several members of the public, adjoining property owners that are here that would, I think at least one or two of them may be interested in speaking, but it really is up to the board to decide whether to open the public hearing with the applicant not being here or to just defer opening the public hearing to the next meeting.
Thank you, Ben. I would ask the board, I think it is probably appropriate that we move or approve to defer this matter. I don't think the applicant is here for presentation. So my recommendation would be that we not open the hearing and we vote to defer. Any discussion? Okay, I'd entertain a motion to defer, and we just want to be specific that it is being deferred to the November 17th Board of Adjustment meeting.
I'll make a motion to defer the item to November 17th.
I have a motion by Mr. Perricone. Do we have a second?
A second.
Second by Mr. Sims. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Let's see, did we get,
Good job.
you got it? It was unanimous?
You actually have.
I'll get to the heard it.
You do.
What, did what?
Taterfield's not here. Any comment, any concern?
No, I think we should defer.
Okay, let's do it again. Can we, all those in favor of the motion to defer, say aye, please.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Quick meeting.
All right,
Hey, no.
moving down to item 5.
Could I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, it's very difficult. I'm 75 and I got short tumor. Y'all talking to a mask. Were you not gonna take public hearing on item 4?
The item is being deferred tonight.
I understand that.
Yes, so we will not be taking that item up until the November 17th meeting.
I understand that. I have a few questions and things I'd like you to consider before that November meeting. As you're making a decision.
The public hearing is actually not open. It will not be open till,
More homework than just to present it to you on the night we consider it.
right, we understand. Once the public hearing is opened on the 17th of November, then staff will make a presentation to the board as well as the applicant. We will take all that evidence into consideration, and we will take a vote at that point on that matter.
Well, I have to say that when you notice something is going to be a public hearing and people come to speak, I think you owe them the respect to listen to what they have to say. If you have announced that it's a public hearing, then I think that people who come to speak should be able to speak. Whether or not you're going to address it, that's not important as to whether they speak or not. If they came to speak on the item, they should be heard.
I would say that everything that is, as far as testimony, any comments needs to be in the record once the public hearing is open. So in order for that to be entered into the record and listed as evidence or to be considered, we would have to open the public hearing. And so our board has voted not to open the public hearing this evening, but it would be on the 17th. I do understand your concern, and I'm very apologetic as far as you coming tonight and it not being heard. But it would not be appropriate for us to hear testimony with the applicant not being here this evening and the public hearing not being formally open. But I do understand your concern. We were prepared to hear the case this evening, but it is more than just, it is a legal matter. This would be a quasi-judicial hearing. So all the evidence would be entered into the record. And so we would want your comments to be entered in that record and be able to be heard by the board appropriately so that we could enter that into our record and enter into our decision to grant the variance or not. But
It just depends on how much you guys really know about it before you make a decision.
Yes.
Because the information you have is very vague. And I will tell you that in my time, and that would be several terms, like 12, of serving on such boards and commissions and as a politician. I have never known a meeting to come advertising a public hearing and people show up to be heard and they don't listen to those people. So that's not, maybe that's just as much, maybe they talk to your people now. I don't know. What I know is, it is very disrespectful to not listen when people go out of their way to help you. And especially when you've got it now on the website, that it is a public hearing.
correct. And you're absolutely right. The item was advertised, and that's why it was still on the agenda. Obviously, the applicant asked for it to be tabled after it was advertised, so there's a little bit of the delay there. But I do apologize for you, but in order for it to be heard properly, and we do want to hear your comments for sure, we would, since the hearing is not open, it would be more appropriate to have your testimony be heard at the November 17th meetings. But I do apologize for any, for your.
I'm apologizing, but it's not what you're talking. Maybe because I'm so old. Who knows? Maybe it's because I don't like the man.
But we would invite you to come back on the 17th when it's all heard and we can properly hear it and document your comments. Thank you for coming, though. Okay, back on item number 5, new business, adoption of the 2022 Board of Adjustment meeting schedule. The schedule was included in our agenda packets. Any discussion, any dates that need to be changed or discussed? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the Board of Adjustment calendar for 2022.
I make a motion that we approve the adjustment calendar for 2022.
I have a motion by Mr. Sims to adopt the 2022 Board of Adjustment meeting. Do I hear a second? Second. I have a second by Mr. Barricone. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Item 6, old business, training by our Board of Adjustment attorney, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Raspberry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have any particular cause to make a presentation to you tonight. I think as this meeting was being set up, I spoke with Mr. Howell, and he was saying, well, if they're going to be assembled, perhaps there'll be an opportunity for some training at the end of the session. I said, sure, I can come up with a few things or perhaps be available to answer questions. So depending upon the wishes of the board, I can commence discussing 3 particular topics in summary fashion that I was prepared to talk about, or I can respond to questions if you all have questions individually or as a group relating to the board's procedure and legal issues involving board, or I can say nothing and offer no presentation and the meeting can be adjourned. Whatever your thoughts and wishes might be on that, I'll move forward.
Well, Lou, we open it up for questions from Mr. Raspberry.
I have one.
And Mr. Barricone.
So in light of what we just experienced, is it fair to say that the rationale behind that is that without the applicant present, they have no ability to respond? And much like a trial, you need all parties there, and that's what although however frustrating to the community member, the intent is to simply provide a forum where the applicant hears the objections and has an ability to respond.
And I made this comment to Marty before, and to Ben before the session started. In a local government quasi-judicial hearing context, my experience has been that setting the calendar is a fairly informal process, and that typically the board would grant a postponement or a continuance or a deferral, whatever term you choose to use, to a subsequent meeting for a case to go forward. In court, it's rare, but on occasions, a judge might say to a party, you calendared this trial, the other side's got witnesses ready to go, you present your case, counselor, or I'm going to dismiss your action. But that is an extremely rare scenario, and I don't think that sort of suits the karma of a Board of Adjustment hearing. So, and the postponement could have been done at the staff level, and I think staff was considering that, because generally setting the calendar for the meetings is a staff function. But in this case, all the parties had been publicly noticed, publications had been run, and so the two options were either for staff to unilaterally at that level cancel the hearing and then try to reach out to those who might have given notice that they were going to be here to be heard, perhaps put something on the placard on the site to note that the hearing had been canceled, but it would be necessary to re-advertise the meeting, and of course it had some risk that folks who had prepared, mobilized to be here showed up, and the case had been taken off the agenda without any notice whatsoever. And the decision was made to actually have it come before you with a request being raised by the applicant to postpone the hearing or defer the hearing to the next meeting. And that's the way it was acted on, obviously. I think that's in keeping with normal practice. I have been on both sides of the coin in this situation. I've represented opponents, parties in opposition, individuals in opposition to a variance case, and arriving at the hearing and just ready to go and hearing that the case is not going to be heard. That's frustrating and it's inconvenient, but the fact is, anytime you have a court-like proceeding, you've got witnesses, you've got court reporters, you've got witnesses for one side and the other side, you've got to assemble. There are a lot of moving parts, and it's not that unusual for there to be something that requires a postponement, and you're going to have frustrated folks when that happens. But in a court-like process, that's just inevitable, and I think we've sort of experienced that tonight. And
What would the risk have been, say we had chosen to listen, what's the downside risk of that?
well, the normal sequence is the applicant makes the applicant's case, and then evidence in opposition is focused on the evidence that the applicant has just presented. It's a point-counterpoint type of scenario, and when no one is here to make the initial points to be rebutted, it's not, at the very best, it's not a particularly orderly and appropriate way to get informed on the issues for this board, to get informed on the issues. So I think that's, that would be my argument in terms of why not just go in reverse order? It just doesn't make a lot of sense.
I felt like Marty handled that very well, but for these citizens to come here and, I mean, they've spent probably 45 minutes here because we got here at least 20 minutes early. So I think next time it needs to be handled at the staff level, where we can give some sort of notification as they arrive so they don't have to wait here as long as they did. Because if I was them, honestly, I'd been pretty upset as well.
Good idea.
So, just my thoughts.
Yep. Good point. Any other questions for Mr. Raspberry? Any additional training we would like to have from Mr. Raspberry? Raz, I think.
Would you like me to leave the room when you have?
We appreciate all the training that, and I think back to since this board was formed earlier this year, that we have received a tremendous amount of training, and having sat on the planning board earlier, we have received, a good amount of training, and that's been very beneficial. So we appreciate everything. And I really appreciate you being available for questions. It's very, very helpful.
I can put it in a one-page email and send it to everyone if that's better.
Very good, very good. Well, thank you, Raz. Any other business the board needs to hear tonight? All right. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Chairman?
Oh, sorry, Ben.
That's all right.
Ben had asked me earlier, and my fault. Floor is yours, Ben.
I just wanted to take a brief moment. I know there were a number of board members at the Monday night council meeting, but I did want to take a moment to ensure that the board knew that the council did issue a proclamation Monday night proclaiming October as Community Planning Month. Originally, my hope was that the proclamation would be presented to any Board of Adjustment and Planning Board members present, and unfortunately that did not happen. But I did want to make sure that the board had an opportunity, was aware of the proclamation, and had an opportunity to see it. So I will leave it up here at the table. Feel free to come by and take a look at it. We also have it displayed at the Planning Department. So.
No, thank you, Ben.
Thank you very much.
And we should have started the meeting out by introducing Ben. This is the first Board of Adjustment meeting since the town has hired the newly hired planning director, Ben Howell. Ben, you've been on the job a month?
About 7 weeks.
7 weeks, not quite 2 months. So welcome, Ben. We're
Thank you.
glad to have you on board, and
Yep.
glad you're here. So
Yeah.
thanks a lot.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here, and I am happy to report that I have a new staff member starting on Monday, a new planner too, and I have the other 2 planning positions in my department that are vacant out on the street for hiring, and those positions are scheduled to close right now, November 3rd, so I'm hoping to have a full staff back by the 1st of the year.
Very good. That's good news.
Fantastic.
Good news. Great. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
And thank you for the members that were present Monday night, and those that may have been viewing by YouTube. So we were recognized as Community Planning Month, and the mayor issued a proclamation, and that's been signed, and that's what Ben has for us to review. So Planning Board and the Board of Adjustment and planning staff were all recognized. All right, with that, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Farragon, second by Mr. Casey. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. Good evening.